start. Let's see. So you're no longer nervous, right?
Not yet. Well, I am a little bit still, but the music's helping me.
That's good. That's what it's supposed to be, relaxing. It's supposed to get you set the page, set the tone. So, all right, and we have an audience. New episode of the End Podcast. We are in season 2. Welcome back. I have a special guest. Well, everybody's special, but she's extra special because she came out during the coronavirus. She has no fear, and so I'm very pleased that she's here because it would have been a waste otherwise for me to set all this gear up. So I'd like to introduce Yesenia Tavaras.
Yes.
Did I say that correct?
You did. Yesenia Tavaras, or Yesenia Tavaras in Spanish.
Oh, Lord, she rolled the tongue. Yes. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. It's a pleasure. So, Yesenia, look, I have my notes here. I should have memorized this so the YouTube crowd gets to see me read. The podcast crowd, they would never know, but I just told on myself. So, Yesenia is Delaware's 2019 Best TV Talk Show host. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right, because you're senior producer and host at WITN 22 Wilmington.
That's correct.
Okay. She is also a public speaker, and you speak about your sexual assault survivor, activist, and speaker?
Yes.
That's correct. Okay. She's a digital journalist and allergy triad mom. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to explain that one. What is an allergy triad mom?
So it's something I learned about when I had my daughter when she was born. I nursed her for about 8 months, and then when she was getting ready to get into solids, she would scratch a lot and things like that. And I was like, well, what's going on? And long story short, we ended up getting her tested for food allergies. She had a few anaphylactic shocks at a very young age, and she got tested for being allergic to over 15 types of foods.
Damn.
And so what comes with the triad part is allergy, asthma, and eczema. So if you have those three, they call you, like, it's a triangular effect.
Triad, yeah.
So one actually affects the other, and it's like a domino effect. And so she's 9 now, but we've been living through that journey since she was born. I would say from birth till about 5 years old, it was nonstop visits to the hospital stays. Wow. I would be in a hospital for a week and just getting up every morning, going to work, coming back to the hospital to my daughter.
Wow. So, okay. So
it's quite the journey.
That is quite the journey. How is she now?
She's improved, actually. She hasn't had an asthma attack hospital stay, I should say, in over 2 years. And so that is like a tremendous progression for us. But she still has her flare-ups, and at nighttime, we're on the nebulizer machine. Lots of nights where you don't sleep.
Right, okay.
But other than that, like, she's very strong. I just have to become an activist in her school because, like most schools, they have those peanut-free allergy tables.
Yes.
And she sits at one of those. But the problem about it is, although she's excelling very well academically, socially, she feels kind of not included, left out. So just really working with the school district in regards to how can we improve that? Like, yes, she can't be outdoors when you just cut the grass in certain degrees. Right. But how can we find other ways in the classroom where she can be inclusive? And, because that also has its mental effect as well. And so I'm real big on mental health and emotional stability and things of that nature. So
Right, because those are important things that we all seem to be struggling with.
Yes, even as an adult.
Yes, yeah. So every day it's growth, it's learning, it's all the above. So okay, and that brings me back to you sit on the board of directors of the marketing and branding committee at the communities and schools of Delaware.
Yes, I am. I would recommend that program to any school district. Actually, they're trying to branch out to Pennsylvania as well. But just the amount of students that they reach, and my part that actually touched home to me is the work they do with homeless schools.
Okay.
Students who are homeless in the schools, yes. And so also mentorship. It's really that outlet that I feel like those who are trying to find their voice don't know really where to go or navigate the system and really need someone to lean on to. Communities in schools is just the best way to go.
Okay. So how do you have time to do anything? Like you seem like your schedule is maxed out.
It is very maxed out. And it's so interesting to be on the other side of the interview table, because I never really get to talk about myself and my journey. I'm always telling other people and talking to other people about their journey.
Yes. How does it feel?
It's amazing. My first time, especially first time as a podcaster. So this is a great opportunity.
I know you're still trying to wrap your mind around the whole what is a podcast thing, right?
Right, I am.
I think a lot of people have the same kind of wonder the same thing, and it's like the difference between, in my opinion, like going from an album to a CD, from a CD to an MP3. Like it's just how the content is packaged.
Yes, and it's a different demographic, and you're reaching a lot of people that I'm not reaching on television, so it's awesome.
Correct. Yeah, but the challenge is getting people to actually sign up, like subscribe to the podcast. So like, people can be flipping around. They're flipping through their channels, and I guess maybe not so much anymore because we live in an on-demand society. But if you have traditional cable, you're flicking the channels, and then they see you. It's like, oh, they can accidentally happen upon you. Mm-hmm. Podcasting, you got to do a lot more direct marketing and like really trying to get people like, come on, listen, subscribe, all that and all that good stuff. So yes, your first podcast.
Yes, and back to your question, like how do I manage it all? I just really try to find time. At this age, I'm starting to really align myself with things that I believe speak to where I'm at in my journey. Okay. And so just being able to have a support system, a lot of credit goes to my parents who have been there since day one for me, especially when I became a single mom. Anytime I need to shoot to an interview or have to stay late because I'm working an event, they're always there. So that is definitely my rock, my support system. And just really like scheduling everything out, because now, as everyone can see on the internet, like I'm back into the gym as well. And
yes, working it out.
I had to understand like you have to have balance in life.
Yes.
And so for me, it was really like just putting my foot down and setting boundaries and saying, yes, this is what I need for the career Yesenia. This is what I need for my personal brand. This is what I need for the mother side, the single mother side of me. And this is what I need for like mental health and things of that nature. And so like therapy and gym has really been my go-to outlet. So just really trying to find the time and mapping it all out.
That is very challenging. So what was the moment that you came to that you were like, all right, I need to get things under control because everything's a little bit out of balance in life?
For me, it definitely was last year. Actually, it's only been over a year. March was like the time in my life where I was really like, Yesenia, you need to get a hold of everything in your life. I was going through I wouldn't say problem, but a challenge in my life the last 17 years where, I was sexually assaulted when I was in college, and I was dealing with that internally. I would do well externally. My career, I was excelling. I was working for Black Enterprise Magazine. I was working for ESPN. I was working for Channel 6 ABC, Def Jam Records. I mean, the list goes on. And I was like pouring myself into my career. But on the flip side, internally, I wasn't pouring myself into me. I wasn't giving myself the love that I needed. And when I was raped in college, I really didn't know about like PTSD. I thought that was just something like people who fought in war got.
Right.
Or if I just gave birth, like I didn't know that trauma is it's a spectrum. And so there's a lot of things that fall underneath that umbrella. And for me, having dealt with my emotional side and mental side of having been raped, I really had to like hone in on that. And I don't know if it was because I had my kids, and as they started getting older, I was like, man, I got to really start teaching them about life. But, I was lost in my journey, especially with religion, which I really haven't talked a lot about. And I'm going to have a biography book coming out soon. So.
Whoa, okay, all right. Okay. Write about it. Okay.
I'm definitely going to write about it so people can actually like get to know all the details. But like just a little short brief of my journey, like even religion-wise, like I was kind of lost in my walk. I grew up Catholic, and I left the Catholic Church and became non-denominational Christian. And then when I was raped by a Christian, I was just like, okay, well, maybe this is the wrong religion. Maybe this is not the right way, because if you're Christ-like, you wouldn't rape another Christian. And so mentally that really messed with me. And then I ended up moving forward and I became Muslim. And I was in Islam for a long time, from 2013 till about, what was that, March 2019, which was last year when I left Islam and became Christian again. And I ended up getting baptized in March of 2019. And that kind of just solidified my spirituality. I like to say I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
Right.
And so having just gone through all of that was when I really had like my wake-up call, because in life, we have to find our purpose. And I think a lot of us get lost along the way. But I dealt a lot with like death, people dying in a family,
right.
things like that. You go to these funerals, and you're like, oh man, like, what are we here for? And so as I got exposed to that, and even just reporting in the city for Channel 22, I did this one story of this little kid who got shot by a stray bullet. I just really knew, like, life is so short.
Very short. Very short, very unexpected. Just, you never know what's going to come at you, come for you, go with you, all of the above. So
you never know. Like, even those people who are not basketball fans or fans of Kobe Bryant, like when he passed away in a helicopter with his daughter, it hit home for so many people, because I think it was at that moment where a lot of people woke up like, man, we can be here today and gone tomorrow. Like, we hear about it, but we never like witnessed it as a whole nation.
Right. Kobe was someone who we all knew and had a relationship with, which is interesting because, there were so many people that were like, well, what about all the other people in the helicopter? And I just kept saying, we didn't know the other people in the helicopter. And it's not to say that we're not sad for them and their family and their loss and whatnot, but Kobe was a person that we knew that we had some kind of relationship with. So that's why the focus was on him. Right.
But the blessing in it all, too, is because they were in the helicopter, they were also recognized nationally and globally as well.
Correct. Yes.
Should have had been an accident somewhere else, it probably just would have been a small write-up in a local newspaper.
Correct.
Where this was like, everyone is getting the acknowledgement they need, although, yes, Kobe's getting most of the acknowledgement,
right.
But at least they're recognized and their names are always going to be down in history in regards to those who we pay our respects to.
Correct. Yes. So you have run the religious gambit, and now you've landed spiritual, which is beautiful. Because spirituality, I think there's a part of the religious population that generally lack spirituality because they are so locked into the process of religion, like the rules, and this is how you conduct yourself, and this is what you do, and this is how and they're missing they don't realize it, but they're missing that relationship with God, which really means the relationship you have with everybody around you, because God is within all of us. So you have to treat people well. You have to treat others the way you want to be treated. That's right. That is so foundational. And if we all did that, the world would be a better place.
It would. It so would. And then I think oftentimes we do get lost in the religion rules of how everything works. And I know for me, that was a big aspect of my life when I was Muslim. Like, there was all these things we had to do, and I just wasn't grasping the connection that I had when I was with Christianity. And so when I came back to Christ, and there was even a point before I came back to Christianity, I even tapped into like the science part of spirituality and Christianity. I didn't even know that was out there and existed, but there was like the science part, and then there was like the connecting with the universe and the trees. And
right. No,
I dabbled into that as well, but you have to have, like, I think to your point, and what we're both trying to say is there's got to be a center point of, it's like a compass. Like, anywhere you walk in life, that compass is going to point somewhere.
Right.
And for us, we have to find like that center point for ourselves. And for some people, it's spirituality. For some, it's not. But it's definitely in the end, like how you said, like how you treat people.
Correct. Yeah, that's made your point. That was good. That was a good thing. We're allowed, our audience is appreciating you. So that's a beautiful thing. So you had your spiritual journey, and you're where you're at now, and which is beautiful because you got to see the beauty of all things, of Islam, of Catholicism, of Christianity, and in understanding that, these denominations are they're literally algorithms of how this group practices their religion versus that group versus that group. So that's beautiful. So you're finding yourself and you're getting your balance and which was leading you to get your butt back in the gym, right? Find the balance. Okay. So along with working out, what else are you doing at this point in time to kind of grow your balance?
Wonderful question. So for me, especially like being a single mom and balancing my career and all the success that I have in there as a television reporter, a talk show host, national public speaker, I really had to sit down and find time for me. Like, what do I need to make sure, like, I'm progressing too? Because I can't give myself to the world and not be personally succeeding as well. And so I just started going to the gym. I had a year membership, but like most of us, we go for a little bit, then we stop. And I started going consistently this year because I needed to find an outlet. Like, I really needed to find a place where I can just release all of these frustrations. I mean, we usually do that with people. We'll call each other and bounce off and vent. But for me, just needed to find a place. Something that most people may not know, but when I was younger, I was in karate, and I did that for a long time. And I got to 3rd degree black belt. So I can karate chop.
Oh my goodness! What discipline of martial arts?
Taekwondo.
Oh my goodness! All right, don't mess with her, y'all. Don't mess with her.
So I did Taekwondo. I did sports. I did basketball. I did field hockey. I did soccer. And I was like into pageants. And my parents kept me very involved outside of academics. But to my point, I believe like because I had those outlets, like it helped me to kind of release some things that I was holding in, rather be frustration. Just coping with my depression by doing things that'll keep me busy. At this age, I just knew to be mentally healthy, I have to take the steps that'll take me there. And so therapy was number one.
Very important.
I went to therapy. I was actually, after I got raped, I was in and out of therapy. I tried group therapy, didn't work for me. Then I went to therapy just by myself, and it started working, but then it would like get back like to these emotions that I couldn't handle, so I completely stopped. And then so I started again in 2017, end of 2017, and I like haven't looked back. And I would recommend therapy. I know it's like something that's looked down upon in minorities for like Latinos and Blacks.
Yes.
But it's so needed. These are people who are disciplined in these areas. They are non-biased. They're not going to like judge you, and they'll give you the recommendations that's going to be tailored towards your mental health.
Correct.
And once I started going to therapy, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I'm getting the big picture. Especially with that part, like, it wasn't my fault. I had to do a lot of forgiveness. I had to get through a lot of working into all those different things that were holding me back. And in the gym, I was just like, here it is. Like, I finally can, for once, control the outcome of my body image. And it's not so much about like being fit and being skinny. I think nowadays a lot of women get confused of what beauty is because like they do want to like please their counterparts and make sure like, you know, they're up to par because everyone's competing with everyone. And unfortunately there's more women out here than men.
Yes, there are. Yes.
But
yep, I agree. Yep.
So for me, it's not so much about being physically appealing to the male counterpart because I am in love with who I am as a person, and I believe we're beautiful in all of our many ways. But for me, just knowing that, okay, I'm starting out at this many pounds, and I want to get to this many pounds, and I know it's going to take this kind of work. Like, yeah, can you go get surgery? Yes, but I'm not doing that.
Right.
So just the pride in the process. I'm very attracted to like the process of the journey, whatever it is.
That's very important. The thing about working out, it's you get to see the result of your work.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful thing. And you know, if you stick with it. So you have that part of it. You also have the release of endorphins.
Yes.
That go along with that working out, which a lot of people are addicted now.
Yes, I'm very addicted to that part.
You know, so that's very important. And then it's just a better quality of life. Like when I'm in the gym, when I'm working out regularly, and I feel so good just throughout the day. The aches and pains, I don't have them. I move all well and whatnot. So, you know, we are encouraging you guys to go hit the gym.
Yes. One thing I love to say about the gym is like no one can take that away from you, right? So like at work, everyone's trying to work towards like a certain goal, like a certain return on investment, or like even their career, and they're like trying to progress. Like the gym is the only thing where you don't need anyone to validate your success because you're putting in the work. you're making the necessary changes and you're seeing the results. And so you're owning that, and no one can take that away from you.
They sure can't. We'll clap to that. We'll clap to that point. That point. So that's a wonderful thing. So are there any other things, activities that you do outside of the gym for you, just for Yesenia?
Yeah, I'm really getting back into that part. I used to cycle about 2 years ago. I dabbled into a little bit. I am a huge fan of just nature, being outdoors, being one with just what originally was here before we even got here. And cycling was something that I just fell in love with, and I would just ride for miles.
Okay.
And so I'm back to cycling, and I'm back to reading. I love to read. That's the journalism inside me. But just making sure that wisdom-wise, knowledge-wise, I'm actually improving on that level as well. So if I don't have enough money to go to Barnes & Noble and buy a book, I'll just go to our local library, look up the same book I wanted to buy at Barnes & Noble, and I'll go ahead and read the book.
There you go.
But that brings a lot of peace to me as well. And then my home, I love my kids. I have a son, he's 5, he'll be 6 soon. I have a daughter, she's 9. And just making sure that our sanctuary is very peaceful. And so what do I do for that at home is we practice a lot of meditation.
Okay.
Because, kids go through their own depressions and thoughts of not wanting to be here because of what they're going through in school. And so you have to make sure you create a healthy environment for them. And so at home, we do a lot of breathing tests and meditation, and we'll listen to just instrumental music. And
that's awesome. So
and my daughter loves to dance, so sometimes it's all hip hop and rap.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's cool. So, it's interesting you bring up meditation because, I believe that so prayer is what we ask of God, and then meditation is God talking back to us, letting us know what we need to do to get what we asked Him for.
Right.
So, meditate, people. if you want clarity and whatnot. Do you have so when you do the meditation, is it always with music, or is it what is your process?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I could just be sitting there listening to my own thoughts and having some words of affirmation. What I really learned is the power of human beings and our thoughts, especially with managing our emotions, because as women, we're naturally very emotional at times. So when I'm meditating and I don't have music, I tend to work on that. Just listening to myself, my thoughts, and seeing how I can train myself to change my thoughts so that way my emotions will change and learn how to work on my emotional stability and things of that nature. Because, growing up as a single mom and having a kid who has special needs and just trying to figure out that part of your life and personally not succeeding in the whole dating relationship avenue. Sometimes you just need some time to yourself with no sound and no music.
Yes.
And woosah.
Woosah, yeah. You do. And we all need that. And that's one of the things, I think the silver lining for this coronavirus thing. I don't know, whenever this gets posted, hopefully we will be far beyond the coronavirus and social distancing, and schools being closed and whatnot. But this is an opportunity for so many of us to actually catch our breath, slow down, and kind of take inventory of our lives. What's important, what's not important, in what ways are we living our lives that are really unsustainable,
right?
Versus what is sustainable. So I'm glad you brought that up. Just the idea of taking a moment for some peace and quiet to kind of get yourself together, and that's good.
Yeah, I recently just posted something on Instagram too about that, how we all need to be in solitude because that allows us the opportunity to just really put the focus on us. And, every day we're putting out a show, whether it's for our job, whether it's for our children, our family. It's every day we have to be something. But when you're in solitude, you're really changing the focus on you.
Right. You're able to figure things out. So, they say, and I do believe this, that you can meditate while working out. Actually, you can meditate during doing anything. As long as you're, whatever it is you're doing, you're not having to actively think, you're almost on autopilot. Right. That is the opportunity to meditate. So have you found that there's any meditative qualities when you work out, or have you not?
Oh, yeah, especially when I first started working out again. I just was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do 30 minutes on the treadmill or the elliptical. Like, there's just no way. I haven't done this in a long time. It's not going to happen. And then where the meditation part kicked in, like I was telling you, those words of affirmation and changing your thoughts. So immediately when I saw these negative thoughts coming in, where meditation helped me was like, okay, I have to train my brain. Yes, I can do this. 30 minutes is nothing. We're going to just keep at it and keep going and see where our body can go. And it's amazing how your mind will take you further than your body. Because your body, like you were saying, you'll get into these aches and pains, and your body will convince you can't go any further, especially when I'm lifting weights. And it's like those last 5 reps that you push through after the pain is really where you find the growth. And so mentally, like not only you're growing physically, but mentally you're growing because your mind is teaching your body, hey, you have more in you. This is not it to you. You can keep going. And let me show you that you can keep going. And then the body follows, and it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I didn't know I could get there.
Mind over matter, yes.
Exactly.
Except when you're getting older, okay, because I've tried to work through pain at times, and yeah, I've done ripped and torn things. So you have to know the difference between balance. The pain. Yeah, the pain of you're just tired versus the pain that your body's getting ready to give out.
Right.
That is, that's very important.
And then also necessarily doing the necessary things to help you repair too.
Correct.
Like I never knew rest. Exactly. I was just going to say that. I never knew that rest was a much needed thing that you needed to have in order to repair your body after just working out. Because as we all know, like our busy schedules, for me, rest was like the last thing on my list. I would go and survive off of 4 hours or 6 hours of rest every night. And I'll just continue boom, 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 boom. But then that's when I learned, no, you need your sleep.
You need your sleep because, it's the law of diminishing returns. That's and, right. If you're not rested, you're not performing to your peak, which means you're not getting as much done. And so it's just a vicious cycle. So, all right. So, you've found the journey to balance, which is awesome. Now, being a journalist, was this something that you always wanted to do? Like what was when did that dream start for you?
So, very interesting story. When I was in high school, I was always in college prep classes and advanced placement classes. And one thing that I really loved was math and science. Okay. And so biology was my thing. So I just knew when I was in 11th grade and I was finishing up 11th grade, I was just like, I'm going to be a marine biologist. I'm going to go to college for that. I'm going to swim with the dolphins. I'm going to be like one of those ladies you see out like in SeaWorld and maybe feeding them. And like, that was my dream. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then when I got to 12th grade in high school at William Penn High, shout out to William Penn High, Colonials, the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League at the time was having auditions for a show called We the Students that was by students for students. And they were only going to pick 13 people, I believe. I think it was like 13 was the cutoff. And over 300 applicants had applied for this talk show. And I remember this like audition. You had to like fill out all this paperwork. And it was through their, I believe it's their National Student Achievement Matters program. And so I said, okay, well, let me give this a shot. Like I always remember when I was 12 years old watching the TV. And I would look, of course, we were watching Telemundo in my house at the time. It was all Latino everything. Right. I remember I would watch like these novelas and I would watch these shows and I'm just like, how do people get on the screen? Like, how do people get on TV? Like, what is that part of this whole thing that people come home after work to sit down and just watch all the time? And I was just so intrigued about the like, how, instead of the why. And so I went ahead and auditioned. And I landed the host position for the talk show, We the Students. I remember getting an article in the newspaper on News Journal, Delaware Online. And that's where it just kicked off for me. I was a teenager. I think I was like only 16, 17 years old at the time. And it just progressed from there. Like they saw how great I was doing. All the shows were getting broadcast on Channel 28, which is now DETV. But way before DETV, it was the Least Access channel. And I'm talking about, this is way, I'm going to date myself, but this is like way back, like 2001 when I had my own talk show. And we're now in 2020. So I've been in the games for about 19 years. And For me, that talk show was everything. I saw the platform. I saw how it was giving kids a voice. I saw how children would talk to me and share with me things that they wouldn't even share with their parents, topics they wouldn't even talk about at home. And we talked from everything. I mean, at the time, we just had suffered the September 9/11 attacks, and that was like a big topic. Like, I would like really hone in on health education as well, domestic violence. I mean, there's just so many different topics that we were able to touch on, and this would get broadcast. And so I remember going to school, and I was a student council president at the time. And I just remember everyone like, hey, you know, when can we catch you? Like, you're on TV every Sunday. And I'm like, yeah.
I am.
And it was just amazing opportunity. I didn't know then how blessed I was for having that opportunity as a high school student, because that's really what jump-started my career. By the time I graduated from high school, I had a resume reel, which at the time we had on DVDs of like the work that we could do to show people. And I remember going, I had a full ride to Dallas State University, and I had a partial ride to Morgan State at the time. And I remember taking a tour at Dallas State, and they didn't really have like all the equipment that I was looking for. And then I walked into Morgan State University, and they had a full-blown TV studio. And I just knew, like, I just felt at home. I was like, this is going to be the place where I'm going to like really grow into my own when it comes to my career. And yeah, I had my resume reel. I took it to the dean of communications at the time. I said, listen, I really want to go here. This is my resume reel. This is what I want to do. I want to have my own talk show as soon as I start my freshman year.
Wow.
And here's my audition.
Wow.
And I just kind of took ownership of my destiny. Like, I prayed on it. I always pray before I do anything in life, making sure that it's God's will. And if it's what he wants me to do, it's going to happen. And long and behold, I was there during freshman orientation and got the call. If you want to start here at Morgan State University, you have your own talk show.
Wow.
And freshman year, fall semester.
Just like that. You called your shot.
I called my shot, and man, did I dunk it. Because right after that, like, people don't know, like, you see, it's very interesting when you put in the time. People forget that in this journey, you have to put in the time, especially with these younger kids. Like, they they just like, I'm like, what is up with this microwave, like, frame of thinking? Like, you just put it in and it's going to happen. Like, that's not the world we live in. There's a process, there's a journey to everything. It's not no overnight success.
This is correct. This is, well, and so I think I have an idea of what's going on. All they see is the end result.
Right.
And we have so many people that are ashamed to talk about the struggle. Like, they won't share the videos of them messing up or share the stories of where they went wrong. They only want to highlight their victories. And so that's what we're seeing. That's what they're seeing. And so there's not enough people out there that are talking about, like, hey, these are the things that I had to go through. You know, you have to learn to fall in love with the process. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to stop focusing so much on where you're trying to get, and focus on where you're at right now, because that's where you're going to grow. That's where you're going to get stronger. That's where you're going to get better. There's not enough people talking about that. Right. It's just like, hey, I've made it. I'm successful. That's why these kids think it's an overnight microwave type deal. Like, I think I'm going to be a talk show, and I'm going to put a video out on Instagram, YouTube, and that's going to propel me to the top. No.
Yeah, and it's false expectations, because they're like, oh, I'm going to put in this work, I'm going to have 1 million followers. Like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Lord, no, it does not work that way. No, my gosh. It's trying to get followers without selling your soul is very, very challenging.
Bingo. That's the point. And that's the one thing I pride myself on as a woman. I never sold my soul. I never slept with anyone to get to the top. I really did the right thing in regards to my work will speak for itself. I worked for ESPN at 18 years old. That was my first job as a college student. I'll never forget Professor Naughton, Brian Naughton, if he's still out there. Thank you so much. But I'll never forget Professor Naughton had asked the whole class, like, whoever wants to work during the winter break. This was my freshman winter break. Raise your hand. Everyone had to put their name on a list. And there was only like 3 people who signed up, because everybody was like, I'm going to take a break. Right. And I'm so glad that I did, because that landed me the opportunity to work for ESPN. And I worked for ESPN for 9 years as a freelancer. And so my point is, it's like, having been exposed at 18 years old on to that type of celebrity status and seeing what happens behind closed doors. Because let's face it, you're a beautiful young woman. You're going to get invited to certain like parties and social outings after the games.
There's advantages.
There are. But then you have to learn and decipher like what advantages do you want to take and own. For me, like having to be with a man to give certain things to get to where I want to get to, that's not going to happen because I know the God that I serve. And the God that I serve shows and tells me like that's not what you do as a woman, especially if you're a woman that protects your temple. Correct. And so for me, it was all about, you know what? If I can't go about it this way, then this is not the opportunity for me. Right. And that's where you have to get in your life. Like, I think sometimes people feel like every opportunity is supposed to be their opportunity. Right. And it's not. Some things are supposed to be what you're supposed to be doing, and some things aren't.
Yes.
And I cannot.
I agree. No, message.
Yeah, I got to drop some gems because I know there might be some young girls listening to it. But
it is what's for you is you will have.
Yes. Strong believer in that.
Yeah. So, and as long, I always try to take the lesson. Like if there's a failure or something doesn't work out the way I want it to, I have to see what the lesson is, what the reason why is this not working? What maybe I need to be better prepared for what it is that I want. I mean, because you get no today, the no today might result into a bigger yes tomorrow.
Oh, that's so true.
So that's cool. What I don't want to skip past though, and I think this is very important. You turned down a full scholarship at one school to go to another school where you're going to have to pay out of pocket somehow, some way. I don't want to skip past that because I think that's incredible. Clap that up for you. How hard of a decision was that for you to make at the time, or was it even a hard decision?
It was a hard decision because I had to really lean on my parents. As we all know, we had to sign those promissory notes when we took out these student loans, and I didn't know to the full length of what I was getting myself involved with in regards to all this money I would have to pay back after I graduated. But one thing I always knew, and this is a quality I have about myself, is like they say in football, give me an inch and I'll give you a yard. Like for me is I just need my foot in the door and I will figure out the rest and I will show you that I can figure this out. So for me, what my point is, okay, I knew going in I was only getting a partial scholarship. And I just want to say this part of my life, that my journey that people don't know about. The reason why I got partial scholarship is because the guidance counselor at the time that I had at the high school didn't believe that I could be a broadcast journalist or be a successful broadcast journalist. He had his own, viewpoints and said I should have gone to school in nursing. But long story short, my my SAT scores were not correct on my transcript. So my highest SAT scores were not on my transcript. Therefore, I didn't get all the possibilities I could have in regards to getting a full ride at certain universities. And so knowing that I couldn't go back through the whole process, knowing that I said, you know what? Okay, God, this is what it is. I know how well I can do academically. You give me a challenge and I am going to successfully fulfill that challenge. And so when I got to college, I said, okay, I'm going to pay these student loans. I'm going to get these student loans for the first semester, but I guarantee you after that first semester, I'm going to make the dean's list and I'm going to compete for an honor scholarship to stay on campus. Because as we all know, when you go to college, after your first year, it's kind of like, okay, you got to go find your apartment and live your own way.
Oh, okay. Well, I went to University of Delaware, so it was just...
It's different?
It's different.
Even on scholarship?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of dorms. So, but I'm not a scholarship dude,
yes, so we had dorms, and so if you had a scholarship, the dorms, with the scholarship, you're allowed to stay on the dorms. If you didn't have a scholarship, I believe it was like after your first semester, maybe after the second, like you had to go find your own apartment. Okay. And this was like for the scholarship. So basically, dormitory was saved for those who had scholarships. Okay. All right, unless you're a freshman. So for me, I knew if I wanted to stay on campus and I wanted to stay in the dorm and have that access, I always call it accessibility, have that access to the library whenever I want to go to, or go to the classroom whenever I want to go to. And I know that my dorm is closer than it would be if I had to go get an apartment somewhere. Like, I just know the environment that I need to be successful in. And I kind of like mapped my way into that. And so what I'm getting to is like, I knew I had to successfully maintain a certain GPA to get the scholarship that I wanted to. So that was my goal. Every semester I made the dean's list and I received a scholarship. that allowed me to stay on campus, and I never had to find an apartment.
Wow.
So
No, that's incredible.
And it was not easy.
No, it's never easy. But it's not supposed to be easy, and I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. They feel like it's supposed to be easy. There's supposed to be minimal challenge, that they have to experience in order to get what they want. And you find that people will quit. Like the first time they hit a wall, they're like, all right, I'm done. It's not for me. And maybe that's because whatever it is they were going for, it isn't for them. And they just haven't found their purpose or what they really want to go for. Because I do believe that when you find that thing that you want, that you really, really want, you will go through hell and high water to get it.
You will.
So yeah, that's amazing. But I didn't want to gloss over that, the idea that you took the more difficult track to get what you wanted, because it would have been really, really easy to be like, hey, full ride, no brainer, like I can make it work,
right.
At Dell State. So,
but see, and maybe that's the Capricorn in me, but when it's too easy, I feel like that is when I'll get more comfortable and relaxed.
Yes.
And when I won't be as the best person as I can be.
Correct.
But if I'm striving for something and I'm working towards something, that's when I know, okay, I'm going to reach my peak, if not higher, of who I can become.
There you go. All right, yeah, dope. Yeah, clap it up for you again. That's amazing. You know what? I think we're going to get into the questions that I sent to you.
Sure.
Yeah, so if it's your first time listening to the End Podcast, I ask all the guests the same set of questions because I want my audience to see how different people deal with these questions, because we're all a little different. So, and what you may do might not resonate with one person, but it may resonate with someone else and, with other guests. So I hope you're ready. I know you're ready because I'm the amateur here. You're the professional. So, all right. So first question, what motivates you?
Ooh, good question. For me, I would say life, the process and journey of just surviving life and living. And purposely, living on purpose and finding happiness during the process of this journey that we're all trying to figure out. If you would ask me this question 10 years ago, I probably would have told you nothing's motivating me. I'm depressed and I don't know what's going on and I'm trying to figure this out and I got a newborn and I didn't even know how I'm going to make it as a single mom. But all those worries and anxiety really put up walls in regards to the bigger picture. And the bigger picture at the end of the day that motivates me is, not to get technical, but out of all the millions of sperms that came out, we're the ones that made it, right?
Right.
And there could have been so many other opportunities. You might have not even been here. There could have been a different one that met the egg and it would not have been you. But we are each uniquely designed for a purpose, and just really truly believing in that is what motivates me. You know what? I had to wake up one day and say, wow, God, you created me to be this complexion, to have this type of personality, to have this hair color, to have this eyes, to be bilingual, to be Latina, for a reason. There's a purpose behind that. And while I'm here on earth, I'm going to figure it out the best that I can. And I'm just praying that you give me the guidance and put the right people in my life so that way we can get there together. But yeah, that's what really motivates me, is just trying to figure out this life that we are been blessed to have, and enjoying the moments that we're in when we're in them, being present. And, just trying to be happy.
Okay, good answer. I like that. All right. Okay, so question number 2. When did you decide to make the big change to choose your dreams, and did anything happen to push you to make the change?
A lot of people would say that I've been living the dream for the last 19 years. And for me, I would say no, I just started living my dream last year. And for me, that moment was when I came out about being sexually assaulted on campus. Okay. I've interviewed so many celebrities, Terrence Howard, Spike Lee. The list goes on of so many people I can think of in the back of my head. And, you can follow me on Facebook and you'll be able to see all those photos. But for me, when I had interviewed these people and I met these people, when you get to the level where you're constantly interviewing celebrities, I just recently interviewed Stephen A. Smith. When you get to the level where you've constantly interviewed celebrities, you begin to understand that they're just like you.
Yes, they are.
You know, there's
Right.
nothing different but the tax bracket. And so when you understand that, and then you go to figure out, well, why am I here? What's my purpose for being here? And for me, back to your question, I kind of lost my thread.
Oh, well, so you're living your dream.
Oh, yes, that moment.
Yes.
So for me, like having all those experiences, my 20-year-old self, my 25-year-old self was like, oh, I'm like loving this. Like I'm interviewing all these celebrities. This is my thing. Like I'm getting like higher into my career. I'm working for Black Enterprise. Like I'm doing intros for Alicia Keys and a little Bow Wow at the time. It was just like, couldn't no one tell me anything. And then I get into my 30s and I'm like, okay, so you have all this underneath your belt. Like, what has it done for you today? And for me, like, I knew that it clicked for me. God gave me all of these opportunities because he's given me a platform that, I have the credentials now. Not only do I have a Bachelor's of Arts degree, not only do I have 19 years in the media underneath my belt, not only have I successfully interviewed celebrities and gotten the viewerships that I needed, but at the end of the day, for me, it's like, okay, now what can I do? What's the next level?
Right.
And that next level for me was to use my platform to get the message out there about how to recover from being sexually assaulted.
Wow.
And that was my turning point. I started speaking at universities throughout America, starting to speak at high schools. I'm going to tap into the foster care system soon. But for me, my turning point was really owning that part of me and saying, you know what? This is just one section of who I am, but now it's the time to reach out to others and bring them up.
There you go. I like that answer. That's beautiful. So, side question: out of all the people that you've interviewed, who were you most excited to interview, or most nervous to interview?
I would say I was nervous when I was interviewing Spike Lee because of his caliber, and anybody who's in this industry knows like what he's been able to do, what he has done for himself. But I think most recently, I would say Stephen A. Smith. And I've already interviewed him before, but I guess it's because where I'm at mentally and just spiritually and aligned with the universe in my life right now. The interview I just had with him recently while he was here for Historically Black Colleges University, it just really really touched me. And one thing that I love when you interview celebrities is you can decipher and really tell the ones who are really there during the moment to answer the questions to help pour into other people, and the ones who are there just for show. One thing I hate about being in this industry is that there's a lot of fake people out here. Like they want to do it for the glamour, they want to do it for the fame, they want to do it so they can be in front of the camera or just be like, hey, look at me. And then you have the ones who are like, no, you know what? I'm here because I've been blessed with the opportunity to be here, but I'm going to use this platform and this vehicle for the right reasons. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm going to tell the stories that are not being told. I'm going to reach out to the people who are living in our community, whose voices need to be heard for a variety of reasons. And I think in return, that's why I'm doing so well. That's why I've been excelling. That's why I've been, Delaware's number one talk show, Delaware's number one talk show host, Delaware's number one on the scene news reporter, Delaware's number one prepared reporter. And most recently that I'm very, very proud of, I submitted my speech that I did for the sexual assault, the YWCA's fundraiser breakfast, and the sexual assault experience that I went through. That was my speech, and I spoke about it, and it landed first place in the Delaware Press Association contest this year.
Congratulations. That is awesome. That is really awesome.
So I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but yeah, my best speaker is celebrity I should say that I spoke to is Stephen A. Smith, and just being able to speak to him and just really getting that genuine, authentic response in his interviews, that to me is when it's worth it.
That is awesome. No, and you're free to go on tangents here. It's a safe place, and again, you're used to being on the other side. So
I
to
am.
have the opportunity to share your truth is a beautiful thing. So no, I'm not going to stop you. So you're
awesome.
Good. You're good. All right. So what has been unexpectedly challenging about your dream chasing journey?
Wow, you know what? I am doing so well professionally, and I've been able to do so well professionally, maintain my lifestyle, house, car, kids are in great school system. They're number one in their class. And people are like, well, wow, she's got a good life. Like, oh, she must have had a silver spoon or a gold spoon in her mouth. And I'm like, No, like behind closed doors, people don't see the anxiety, the depression, the mental health battles that I go through. It's really, really hard, raising kids, and without having that male counterpart, especially if you're spiritual and you believe in God. You're supposed to have a man in the household. And for me, I can't just pick any guy. I got to pick a guy that I'm very old traditional in that way. Like, he has to be the leader in many ways. He has to be the head, not the tail. And spiritually, he has to lead all of us. And so that's kind of why I'm like in that journey in my life right now where I'm choosing to be single, because I know the type of man that I want in the household. But outside of that, the challenge is the mental part of it. It's truly the mental part. Am I good enough? Every day when I wake up, am I good enough? Am I doing the best that I can as a mother? I already know career-wise I'm doing great. I'm the best, whatever, reporter, talk show host in Delaware. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter to me if I'm not whole.
Right.
And for me, I kind of struggle with that, because it's like, at the end of the day, I do want companionship. I do want to be in a relationship. I do want to show my children what it would look like to have a stepdad and a mom, these things that you see on TV, like, oh, a happy family looks like this. You have a mom and a dad at home.
Right.
Unfortunately, my kids, they've never experienced that, unfortunately, since they were little, since they were practically born. They don't remember, they don't even know what it looks like to have a 2-parent household. And I struggle with that, because my parents been married, for over 35 years. I think it's like 41 years they've been married. So I don't come, and I don't like to say broken home, because I don't like to look at my house as a broken home, but I don't come from like a broken relationship. So my struggle, my challenge has been actually on the other side of the fence, not professionally, not career-wise, not as a national public speaker. I'm doing well on that side, but just the personal side and learning balance and trying to find the same success on that side of my life, as opposed to the Yesenia Tavaras that everyone sees as a reporter.
Right, okay. Now, and hopefully this will help you maybe feel a little bit better in regards to your kids and what they haven't experienced. You can't miss what you never had, right?
Yeah, that's so true. That's a good way of looking at it.
So for them, what's hard is when my parents got divorced, I was 13. So I had a life of mom and dad in the house, and then that changed, right? Mm-hmm. So that's very challenging. But for them to have never known or not to remember, it's always been mommy and me. So, right. So be careful about projecting your experiences or onto them as to what you think that they should have to make them happy, because as long as you're being a good mom and being there for them, again, they can't miss what they never had. If that's not there, there's nothing to miss.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. I'm gonna clap for myself.
Yeah, right? That was deep. No, it's just so true. I mean, because even as adults, we do that. Yeah. We project onto others what we think that they might be thinking, or
what they should want, or what's up there. So, yeah, no, you're good. So don't worry about it. All right, let's get to the next question. All right. To date, what has been your greatest accomplishment or proudest moment?
Let's see. Greatest accomplishment, because Lord knows I have so many accomplishments.
That's a beautiful thing.
That's a blessing.
Yes.
For me, it's really my greatest accomplishment. Again, I'd have to go back to stepping out. Well, first, I would say there's two. First, when I decided to leave Islam and become Christian and get baptized, that was big for me, because I was like finding a center point for myself again, which I really, really needed. But outside of that, my biggest accomplishment would be, I'd say, coming out about my sexual assault, because that was hidden for over 17 years. It was a traumatic experience. I didn't know how to proceed with that. But taking the step to say, okay, I'm a national speaker, but now let me speak on this. And let me reach out to other women and men, who have been sexually assaulted. And when I did my first speech at Lincoln University, it hit home for me. Like, okay. I was talking to a group of women there and some men, and some of them have been raped. Some of them have experienced incest. Some of them have experienced very traumatic things that I never experienced when I got raped. And so being able to talk to these young ladies and men and speak to them from not only a woman who has been successfully been able to, maneuver her career and work-life balance, but also a woman who, as most people would see, is broken. And you can't speak out on this topic. I mean, this is during the movement of Me Too and, the era where women were coming out and Bill Cosby got locked up. People were like, oh my gosh, like is this like really happening? Like, why all of a sudden a woman coming out? And I really believe for me, and this is why this is a big moment for me, is because we've been, society has been like training women, I should say, to not say anything,
Right.
And,
or training people, actually. Mm-hmm. When you think about the men that have been assaulted and, what I mean?
That's true. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Mm-hmm. For people in general. And it's like, I remember I shared when I was presenting, and I shared my story one day, and, a lady came up to me and said, I've been through the same struggle, but mine was a little bit different. I came up in the foster care unit and would go house to house. And one of the houses I was in, the guy, the man there who's, playing the father role, like repeatedly raped me. And she never said anything, not knowing to what other house she's going to. So it's kind of like, if I can stay in this home, at least I know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
And I can like figure it out. And it's just like, the more and more stories I hear, like another girl I was talking to, she was being repeatedly raped by her brother. So it was just like, it came to a point where I was so happy where I was able to reach other women and pull them up and show them that there's more to them and they can have, there's another side of recovery. They can have a happy life. But then there was another side of me when I had felt like I was like, this is my proudest moment, where I was just like, man, I can't go on anymore, because it's like, these are triggers for me now. And now I'm like, oh my God, like, I can't believe there's still like awful men out here or awful women. And it's just like, what's going on with our culture, society? And then that's when it clicked for me. And I was like, okay, had to work on that depression, anxiety, and had to relearn, okay, Yesenia, you're in this platform, this position for a reason. Let's train ourselves on how we can train other people to deal with their emotions, get through that, come through the recovery process, know what resources are out here. One thing I'm doing too is I'm going to universities and making sure like women know, and men too, know what resources they have. Because when I got raped, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
I didn't know what was out there. And my proudest moment now is that I'm able to train other women. I'm able to work with our local YWCA, go through their crisis management program, and I'm able to learn for myself so I can help other people learn for free. Because I think when there is a crisis, you should have to pay for that. You should have to at least know what to do. And I didn't have that opportunity. Like, I just remember running to my dorm and taking my Bible and throwing it on the floor and calling my roommate. And
not
I
the
just
Bible.
I was like,
not the Bible to the floor.
Oh my God. I was like one of those Christians, like, oh my God, like I've done everything right. Like, why is this happening to me? And I just remembered like just, going through that journey. And I would never forget. It was my roommate, my freshman year roommate. She told me, she said, don't wash up. And it's crazy because you hear about these things when you go to health ed class in like middle school and high school. I didn't remember that stuff when this happened.
No, it's traumatic, yes.
And like I said, I was a 3rd degree black belt, and I was like really down on myself. Like, dang, like why didn't I do anything that I learned before? Right. Like, why didn't any of this happen? And then it was like through the process when I learned through therapy and through YWCA's crisis management, where I learned about the 3 Fs. You either flight, fight, or freeze. And I froze. In that moment, I froze. And so to gain my power and control back, my proudest moment is now I'm teaching other women how to not freeze, how to fight, and learning ways to not fight and run away from the situation.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Hindsight is always 20/20, and I think most of us are always badasses in our minds, in the shower, wherever, when we're thinking about if this were to happen, these are the things that I'm going to do, and this is how, but when you're in that moment, you just don't know. And it's sad that, you deal with the trauma of what physically happens to you, and then you go through the trauma of beating down on yourself, because you didn't, it's like, what could I have done differently to prevent this from happening, which is just, that's a whole nother trauma. And that breaks my heart. That really breaks my heart, because it's like, people are animals. They're animals. This shit should never happen. It should never happen. And I just hate the idea of someone being a victim twice, like going through the physical assault and then blaming themselves or judging themselves, or like doing doing a post-mortem on what happened and being like, I should have done this differently. Like, it just bothers me to my core. So.
And it's real. Like, that part is really real. Like, that's the depression side and the suicidal side that I had, because it was like, I felt like, dang, like, I felt like I should have known better, because I had the techniques that I learned when I was in Taekwondo, when I was in karate. And I remember going to therapy, and I remember going back to Christianity, and I remember saying, man, like, you know, you learn about forgiveness in order to move forward. And it was like, okay, I forgave him, but why am I still like crying? Why am I still depressed? Why am I still going through this anxiety? And that's when I learned, like, I didn't forgive myself, because I felt like I was always blaming myself for that. And so it wasn't until I got to the point where I forgave myself, like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. You know, it took me a long time. It took me 17 years to get to that place in my life where I was just like, you know.
Right. No, did he ever go get arrested or?
So this will also be my biography book that I'm putting together, but I've also
don't give it away. Say you got to get the book. We're not gonna ruin
that. Get the book? Okay.
Yeah, no, no, not gonna mess with your sales. So no, that's cool. All right, so let's get to question number 5. If you could go back in time and give yourself advice, how far back in time would you go? Like, at what age, and what would you tell the younger you?
Oh, wow. So there's so many different parts in our lives right now where we wish we would have known something. And so there's 2 parts in my life. The younger kid, like I would say the 12-year-old kid, I would say it's okay to not know or have life figured out. You're kind of lost and you don't know what's going on, and you're trying to figure out your way, and you're trying to, you know, get the friends. And I mean, you have to remember, back at that age group, that's like the age group that's like trying to fit into the right crowd. And should you be a virgin? Should you not be a virgin? I mean, there's just so many things that kids between 12 and 18 years old go through. And it's kind of like, I would wish somebody could have told me then, like, you know, it's okay to just be who you are and keep walking in that walk and not having to worry about the stresses of the world.
Okay.
And then, the college me looking back at the college student, I would tell her to believe in yourself more, to have more confidence, to know that everything that you've ever wanted to be, God has equipped you to be that person. And that, you know, if you're a tree that was supposed to make apples, don't look at the tree that's supposed to make oranges, because God created you to make apples. And there's somebody who needs the apple to survive. There's someone else who might need the orange to survive. But you just do the best that you can to have those roots buried in the ground. Then when you sprout, you make those apples, and you provide the seeds and continue on pouring into the people that you need to pour into. And then don't try to have it all figured out. Don't try to figure out the how. Just walk the walk, walk the purpose, take one foot in front of the other, and just really believe in yourself. Because now I'm doing that in my 30s. I'm 36 now. And what I'm learning is, dang, I wish I would have been this person like 10, 15 years ago. Right. And it's like, when you walk with faith, belief, and courage, you operate differently. You
do. Yeah.
You operate differently mentally. You operate differently spiritually. And people see that, and they're drawn to that. And then all of a sudden, all these, like right now, I'm sitting here with you on this podcast, like all of a sudden, all these opportunities come. But that's because you took that moment to believe in yourself. And I always had other people believing in me, but I never believed in myself. And even with all these first place awards I got, I still never believed in myself.
Well, that's a damn shame.
Yeah, everyone's like, are you kidding me? You're like a triple threat. Like, you're a woman, you're a minority, you're Latina, so you can speak 2 languages, and you're like the best at what you're doing. Why don't you have your own business? Why don't you package yourself? And I'm just like, I never thought that route, and now I'm doing it. Now I'm working on 2 books, and I'm working on reaching out to the Latino population and just really packaging myself into who I am. But I would have told my mid 20-year-old self, like, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know all the hows. Just believe in yourself. Write down. You really have to write down what you want to do.
Right.
Like, writing is a big part of this whole process, this journey.
Correct.
If you don't have a plan, then where are you going?
Yes, vision boards, plans, just all of the above to remind yourself of what you want and where you need to go. So.
Yes, because we all have a GPS to everywhere else we have to go, whether it's MapQuest, Waze, or whatever it is we're all using. But we never take the time to like write the GPS for our own lives, our own journey. And it's really possible if you really just sit down and say, you know, I'm at point A, I want to get to point B before I get to point C and D. Like, how do I get there? And if you begin to write it down and you start like tackling one thing out of another, like you'll see you're going to get there.
Yes, you will. But I mean, it's being consistent, you know, and sometimes actually most of the time, you just have to say, I want to get over there, and don't worry about how many steps, or like if you're going to ride your bike or ride a skateboard or however way you're going to get there. Just know you're going to move in that direction, because I think a lot of people get bogged down with the details. Like, okay, I want to have a podcast. Okay, well, you're going to need equipment. I can't afford equipment. I don't know how to use equipment. I don't, and then that gets in the way. It's like, no, don't let that get in the way. Just, if you don't have the money to do something, then start saving. Start looking, look for other avenues to get it done. That's how you get to the next step. Don't worry about how you're going to take the step or what's waiting for you when you get there. Just make the move. So I like what you're saying. I like the confidence. That's beautiful. Do you think the 22-year-old Yesenia would have listened to the 36-year-old Yesenia?
Probably. I would say yes and no.
Okay.
Because I know, like, a big part of me, I'm always like, I can do it. Like, I'm going to figure it out. Like, okay, my faucet just broke. I'm going to Google this and YouTube and figure it out. But the other side, because I was like looking so much for that answer, I think that part of me would have listened. That part of me that was just really like hungry for, like, I wouldn't say quick fix, but that,
right.
What do I need to do? I think that Yesenia would have pretty much listened.
That's good. I think she would have too. You wouldn't have gotten this far in life to be if you were the kind of person who didn't listen or pay attention. So I think she would have listened. So.
Definitely.
All right. So when life gets rough, what is the first thing you do to calm yourself down?
Oh, I can honestly say now, I take a moment I think meditation plays a big part. I definitely pray. Prayer is in everything that I do now. It never used to, I don't want to say never. There was a point where it used to be like that, and then I got raped, and then I just was in this crazy, I would like to say it, just gray crowd, black area in my life, where it just was like, there was no light. And then once I got through that darkness, that, valley of death, and I came out to the other side and saw the light in the sense of like, I'm not damaged goods, and I'm here for a reason. For me, it's just like, say the question again. I almost got emotional.
It's okay. What do you do? What's the first thing you do to calm yourself when things get rough?
Meditate and prayer. I would pray first before everything, and then I would meditate because, like I said, one thing I learned about myself is I have a bunch of emotions. And so when I don't quickly understand something, I can be triggered emotionally. And so for me, meditating and learning, okay, Yesenia, what are we feeling right now? There wasn't an expectation that was met today, and you feel like you've lost out on something. Let's dive into that a little bit, and let's figure out this part of Yesenia and what we need to work on. Because what's right for you might not be right for me, and vice versa. What's wrong for you might not be wrong for me. But for me, it's like learning that I don't have to be perfect. Like, stop that. Like, I think because I've been in this media industry for 19 years, I always had that mentality. I have to be perfect. I have to present myself a certain way. I got to sit up on the chair like this when I'm interviewing people. And I have to have my hair nice and pretty and all this other stuff. Man, when I get stressed out and just anxious, I'm just like, all right, let's take a minute to pray about it first, and let's meditate and figure this out internally first before we execute externally.
There you go. Listen, that's the beautiful thing about the podcast thing. You don't have to be perfect.
That's right.
It is a world of imperfection recorded. So yes, that's a little benefit. That's a great answer, though. Okay, so last question. What is your ultimate goal in life?
Oh, wow. So I do have a life coach, and we were kind of talking about this. I never stopped to ask, what does Yesenia want? I've always been the Yesenia who is on TV, doing the best she can do as a reporter, making sure I'm out there getting the stories that the community needs to hear. I've always been the Yesenia as the mother that she needs to be. But who am I? I have all these titles, but who am I? Do I really know who I am? And so my ultimate goal is to really excel personally on a personal level, to really find, and all I'm having right now in the back of my head is this vision of climbing the mountain and get to the top of the mountain. And that top of the mountain is my own self, like really going through that journey of walking all the way up to really figuring out, who am I? Like, what other talents do I have that I haven't tapped into because of fear, false expectations appearing real? Like, what other things can I do in this life that I haven't even tapped into and that I know that I can do? And for example, like where I see myself, yes, I'm doing great, like television-wise, and I'm here in Delaware, but I want to start traveling the nation. Like, I've already done it, but I want to do it for a different purpose.
Okay.
And that purpose is to reach more people using my platform. And for me, just really taking this sexual assault activism speaker inside of me to a whole nother level. And having my own company and writing these 2 books, completing these 2 books that I have. Once I write these 2 books and start doing more of a national tour and reaching more people who've been sexually assaulted, I think that'll open more doors to all the other questions I have about what else is inside of me and what else I can do.
All right, good. You made it. You survived the questions. They're not so bad. Not so bad. So that is awesome. So, I'll be honest, and I'm like very tentative around like just questions about sexual assault, even though you actually speak about it, and that's part of it's on your it's on your website. It's on your website. You talk about it. So what the first time that you ever publicly spoke about it, what could you give me the backdrop of like, so what was going on that, you just got to the point where you're like, I'm actually ready to share this with the world?
I think there was 2 parts. One part had to do with me and one part had to do with raising a daughter. So I didn't want my daughter to grow up and take these health classes in school and learn what rape is and not knowing that her mother was raped.
Okay.
That was number 1. But number 2, when it really hit home for me, was when the light bulb switched in my head for me. And I was like, wow, God, even though this happened to me, he prepared me with all the skills that I have where I can reach other people and really help them in the healing process and in the recovery process. And what I mean by that is like, I'm not afraid to be a public speaker. I'm not afraid to talk to thousands of people. I'm not afraid to do a PowerPoint presentation in front of thousands of people. Like all these things that the majority of people are scared of, I'm not scared of. So if I can do all those things, why am I hiding behind closed doors and crying all the time when not only can I go through the recovery process for myself, but I can also help others? I want to show people like, yes, I have the number 1 talk show or I'm the number 1 reporter, but listen, my speech for the YWC breakfast was, this body also has a story. Yes, I have all these great qualities about myself. Yes, people are like, oh, she's beautiful, she's smart, she has her head on her shoulders. But for me, it was like, but this body also has another story. And that story is, I too have been broken. I too have been beaten. I too have been spit on. I too have gone through all these things. And I'm still standing. I did not commit suicide, even though I wanted to commit suicide. I did not release that anger onto other people. I did not become broken. And I want to show other people like there is strength in having gone through that. And sometimes most women can't even come out of that. And I wanted to take the initiative to speak for the speechless, for those who aren't here anymore, for those who have committed suicide, for those who died during the process. There's stories every day about that. And, the more and more I see young girls being taken away from just going to the local grocery store and, getting taken away by an older guy who's going through his own mental health issues and he, rapes and kills this girl. And then I think about my little 9-year-old. I'm like, whoa, like I have to really step up and teach this girl about this world because unfortunately for me, like I don't want to say it's unfortunate because I haven't stopped that side, but I always looked for the good in people before the bad. Like,
which is a beautiful thing.
Like I don't see like, you can do 100 you can mess up 100 times in my life and I still look in the good because I know that God created us with sin. Like he didn't create us perfect, so there's no way I can walk on this earth and expect you to be perfect because we weren't created that way. We wouldn't have, like they say, the devil knows the Bible too. And we wouldn't have him on this earth too if we were all meant to have a peaceful, happy life and, all created equally. But for me, it was just that moment of just really like coming out of the recovery process and showing other people that, there's a secret that I've been holding because I felt like I could not talk about it. And my way of getting my voice back and getting the power and control back from me was I'm no longer going to be quiet. I'm no longer going to be thinking about, what is he thinking about? Or what's going to happen once this goes globally? Or I don't know where this will be 10 years from now.
Right.
But for me, it was about getting rid of all those thoughts and only owning one. And that one was regaining my voice back and my power back. And that's the walk I've been taking.
And you got it back. You own it. You got it. No doubt about that. So that is awesome. Well, so I'm not going to put you through the down in the DM segment because actually I didn't prepare it. So
I was going to say, what's that, down in the DM?
Down in the DM is a skit feature that I do where people send me conversations from their DM.
Oh, okay.
Inappropriate stuff, right? But we're not going to do that today because I feel like the energy, the vibe of this interview, it doesn't work.
It doesn't fit it?
It doesn't fit.
Okay.
It was good. No, it was good. So I do try to have a balanced show where we laugh, we learn, we grow, all those things. So, but no, this has been very inspirational. So look at you knocking me off my little track.
Oh, okay.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. But I do have some advice columns, questions that people have sent me because I do a little life coaching, try to help people out. And so I'm gonna get you to help with helping these people out.
Sure, definitely. For that? I'll do my best.
Do your best. Okay. All right. So, dear DJ Silk, my boyfriend's best friend is a girl. They've been friends for a long time. When we first started dating, he told me that they made out one time after a night of drinking before he and I met. I didn't have an issue with what happened. A few weeks ago, he invited her and his other friend out to hang out, and she gave me the cold shoulder the whole night. The other day, she texted him, and she told him that she misses him and wondered if they were still friends. He told her, of course. And then she invited herself to his house for lunch, but he didn't include me in his plans. He didn't reply to the invite, and he hasn't mentioned her since then. Should I leave the situation alone, or should I ask him about what's going on with her? How concerned should I be about her?
You going first? Am I?
No, you're going first. You're going first.
It's so interesting. The older we get in life and the more we experience. I think at the end of the day, it's what I'm learning through friendships and through relationships is that you have to ask yourself the value and worth that this person is bringing to you. There's this saying, if we were talking,
right?
Are you bringing deposit into my life or you're withdrawing? Okay. And for so long, I would see people were always taking.
Yes, they love to do that.
Yeah, as opposed to also pouring into me. Mm-hmm. Are you pouring into me? Are we moving forward somewhere? And so to go back to this situation, it's really hard because I have a best friend that I've been friends with him, and it's a male counterpart. Background stories, I grew up with two brothers. I don't have a sister. So the only time I can go play outside is when my brothers were outside. Mm-hmm. I grew up with very strict parents. And so all my life, most of my friends were always male. Okay. And so I was kind of the, cool chick. Oh, man, we can hang out with her. She can throw shoot some hoops too. We can play basketball, football. It was one of those type of environments. So I understand where this girl is coming from. But if he's been friends with this woman for a long time, but they had some type of sexual involvement, what I've learned at this age is that you have to really decipher and put boundaries around what is friendship and what is not friendship anymore. Okay. I didn't know, if you would have asked the younger me, I didn't know if, once you had sex with someone or been intimate with someone, all of a sudden now you're out of the friend zone. You can't be friends anymore because that's going to, really? That's what I'm learning. Because you're leaving yourself open. Well, for women, you're leaving yourself open to vulnerability for it to happen again. Where for men, obviously, you guys think differently. But, for women, it depends. Because I feel when a woman gives themselves to a man, it can be a very emotional thing. in regards to it's really an attachment. I think women get more mentally attached, where men, they don't really get mentally attached right away.
Right.
They're not like
time. But when we do, it's horrible. It's
right, exactly.
It takes a while, but when that attachment happens, it's strong. It's like super glued.
Yeah. So for her, like, that's a very tough spot to be in because he's been friends with this girl for a long time. Obviously, they had a situation now. And so as the girlfriend, she's got to figure out, well, do I let them two still have this friendship? And do I be 100% committed? Or do I not? So she has to then ask herself, well, what kind of man do I want pursuing me? And vice versa. Okay. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, everyone has their own different way of, approaching certain things. Some people just want to be in some things just to have fun.
Right.
So if that's what you want to do, then obviously it's not a problem. You're having fun with him, he's having fun with you, and you're not looking at it from a marriage perspective. But then you have other women who are like, oh, wait a minute. I know my worth. I know my value. It's not about having so many expectations, but once you put the shoe on the other foot, can you handle
it? Right.
As a man, can you handle me having a male friend? And you know what I mean? Something haven't happened between he and I, and now you're putting your whole 100% into our relationship. Like, are you going to be okay with me and him still being friends?
Right.
And I've found that when the shoe's on the other foot, it's not always.
No, you're right. I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Not really for a lot of people. It's hard. So where I'm at with it is, I wouldn't worry about it. It's like it's not any of her business. Like his relationship with her, and it's really on him to manage it. Now, if she pushes him to be like, you need to put her in check, you need to get her, that's never any good because it creates a unhealthy dynamic. Right. This is an opportunity for her to see what kind of man he is and what his intentions are with her. Right. So if he goes to the friend and says, hey, look, listen, certain things are inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. Set those boundaries.
Set the boundaries. Yes, set the boundaries. If he sets the boundaries, cool. If he's not willing to set the boundaries, then that's telling her everything she needs to do, which either maybe downgrade the relationship and it's not a committed relationship anymore and we'll just date and then, you do what you do. I just don't want to know about it. Or, if you can't handle that, just cut it off. Because the girl is not going to go anywhere.
That's true.
She, because they are friends. And then to be quite honest with you, I kind of feel like if you have a long established friendship with someone and you're willing to cut them off for someone new.
Yeah, that's hard.
I'm going to be looking at you a little crazy, because it's like, well, then where's your loyalty? Where, you're willing to, you would rather throw a person away than try to rejig the relationship. Mm-hmm. That's not good either. So I think you can be concerned about her. That's fine. But don't waste your breath trying to get him to do what you want him to do. I
was just going to say that. Like, at the end of the day, I'm really big on honesty. Mm-hmm. So if he can keep it 100 and you can keep it 100, then you're good. But at the end of the day, and I'm real big, and I tell women all the time, especially younger women who are like, trying to figure out and get in relationships, you can never change a man. Like, you can't go into a relationship figuring out, like, yo, he does this, I don't like that, so I'm going to fix him and do this. No. It doesn't happen that way. A man is going to do what he wants to do regardless if you're present or not. Right. And vice versa. I've seen women do what they wanted to do.
People, yeah.
I mean, this corporate world is crazy. I've seen married women, like, have foot massages by different men. And
their work husbands.
I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like, is this even allowed? But, at the end of the day, my point is, like, people are going to do what they want to do regardless. The only thing that you can do is just control your outcome, control
your reactions, how you're going to, if you're going to deal with it or not.
Exactly.
This girl, I mean, yeah, just don't worry about it. Yeah, so my advice to this person is to not be overly concerned. Just pay attention. Keep your head on a swivel. If that kind of stuff keeps happening, whereas the girl keeps inserting herself in situations or treating you bad, and you let him know that you're not cool with that some of these things and he still allows it to happen, then it's probably time for you to move on. It's not worth the relationship's not worth it. He's not worth it at this point in time because you do have to set boundaries. You know, so
yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all about mental health too. Like you don't know what the woman's going through emotionally,
right?
Mentally. I've known women who like kind of like, oh man, I'm not enough, or like would blame certain things on them. That's where you have to really figure out what you want and who you are in this whole relationship.
Correct. Yeah, because it's not like they didn't have sex; they just kissed. You know, they made out after a night of drinking. So
it's not too big.
It's not too big. It's not too big.
But that's not to say that after the kissing happened, there might be some underlining feelings.
I mean, she might have feelings. She might really like him. She might not like her. Right. The girl, you know, she might not like his new girlfriend. And that's why she's not like,
she might not be the best for you.
Right. So, but don't worry about things that are out of your control. The woman is out of your control. What he does is out of your control. And regardless of what pressure you may put on him, he's going to do what you're going to do. He's going to do, like you said. So just pay attention to what's going on and, you know, be careful.
Yeah.
That's it.
Be safe.
Be safe. That's it. Keep your head on a swivel. All right. So, dear DJ Silk, my girl and I went through a rough patch where we weren't getting along. One night after a really bad fight, I went out, ran into an old girlfriend. One thing led to another, and I cheated. I felt terrible after it happened, and I still feel bad about what happened. That was the first time I've ever cheated. My girl and I are doing much better, but the guilt is killing me. Should I tell her what happened or die with the lie?
Okay, anybody that knows me.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
Anyone that knows me knows that Yesenia will always keep it 100 with you, meaning she will always be honest with you and tell you the truth, rather you're going to like it or not, or rather it's going to hurt your feelings. Because I'm really big on, you should never, like, die with these secrets. Like, you know, like I said, I always go back to no one was created perfect. You can't, like, what is that? There's a saying in the Bible, like, he who hasn't sinned cast the first stone.
Correct.
You know, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Like, you can't go around thinking, like, this person's better than you just because they didn't cheat on you. You don't know if they didn't cheat. You know,
right.
I've grown to learn at this age, not everybody tells the truth about anything these days. And it's like, people go into relationships with their own intentions, and they're not going to tell you everything because, A, it's easier to keep you, or as people say, it's cheaper to keep her, or vice versa, or B, like, they know how hurt you're going to be and they just don't know how to go through those emotions with you. And then there might be that fear of loss. Like, I've invested in all this and I don't want to lose this person that has really been, you know, this, I don't know, huge monumental, like, backbone in my life. And this is something devastating, but I think it's different for everyone. Like, I don't know. I'm a very forgiving person, but then it's also like, okay, is this my husband I'm talking about? But, you know, it's different for everybody in situations that they're in. I would say it. I would say don't die, but don't die with a secret. But then again, like, if this is just your girlfriend, do you have intentions of marrying her?
All right.
That's different.
All right. I'm going to say die with the lie. And look, the people are grown. They're like, man, he ain't shit.
Right.
No, this is the reason why I say that is, why the hell are you going to, what good, all right, so cheating is selfish, whatever. But whatever that happened is water under the bridge. But he has the guilt. He's living with the guilt. She's fine. She thinks everything is good. Him telling her that he cheated is only going to throw her in despair, but make him feel better. So then it's another selfish act. There's no, like, he's not continuing to cheat. It was a one-time thing. He feels bad about it. He needs to keep that to himself. Go to a therapist and work it out with a therapist, or do whatever you need to do. But if he tells her, it's going to ruin the relationship.
It will. But if you were, like, in a relationship, would you want her to tell you?
No. If I'm in a relationship with you and you cheat on me, I don't want to know. Would it
end the relationship? Is that why you wouldn't want to know? If she wouldn't tell you?
I can't say that. It depends on how good the relationship, how much love is there and what's going on. You know, like, if there's a deep attachment, well, of course that means the hurt is going to be deep. Right. You know, but to what end? What how does knowing that he cheated on her serve her, or even serve the relationship? She's not going to be like, well, I'm so glad you were honest and because you're being honest about being dishonest at a point in time. And he's only doing it because he feels guilty about it and it's dragging him down. So it's like he's dispersing the pain and the frustration. And in the end, it doesn't improve the relationship, in my opinion. It's only now she's not going to trust him, for good reason, So no, die with the lie. Work it out yourself. Don't be spreading your shit onto me. Like, serious. I mean, you get my point?
There's that saying, like, everything isn't for everybody. But at the end of the day, like, whatever works in your relationship to be a healthy relationship, then that's what you do.
Right. Yeah. It's, he's like, we're doing better, but the guilt is killing me. That line there, right there, my girl and I are doing much better, but the guilt is killing me. Yeah, it's killing you. And so now you want to kill her so that you can feel a little bit better. No, don't cheat again. Write a letter to her and burn it up. Whatever.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, but what if she runs into that woman one day? And what if out of emotional whatever, she tells that woman, then it comes out. So would you rather have told her first? You know what I mean? Like, I always think about those, like, because Delaware is so small. Like, I always think about those, like, interactions where...
Those three, Delaware is 3 degrees of separation.
Exactly.
6 degrees of separation. No, I mean, at that point in time, if it comes out, then it comes out, and that's fine. And like, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be dishonest and like, just deceitful. It really does come down to the point of sometimes ignorance is bliss. And for his girlfriend, she doesn't it doesn't help her life. It doesn't improve the relationship. It doesn't do anything to know that information because it was a one and done situation. It was a one and done deal. So I'm like, think about it. I've cheated on you, Yesenia. I feel so bad about it. A minute ago you were good. Now how do you feel? And then what do you do with that?
Right. Well, any woman would definitely be devastated. But for me, like, I honor the honesty. But like you said, in the back of the head of any woman, it's going to be like, okay, well, wait a second. So he was capable of doing this once. I'm going to work through it with him again. But if he does it again, then I'm done. So then you go through that part, well, okay, if it happens again, I'm not going to tell her. So,
right.
So you do have like that roller coaster, like, wait a minute. So,
yeah, she doesn't. No, I mean, there's just things. I just kind of feel like it doesn't serve anything. It doesn't make. They're good. They're doing good, and he's not a habitual cheater. It was definitely a bad mistake, but right. They've worked through whatever they worked through, and now you're going to destroy it because he's feeling guilty. I feel like feeling guilty is the punishment for doing what he did. And maybe that guilt will keep him from doing it ever again, so. Right.
Well, you never know somebody's walk, so whatever works for you. There's some people out here who do tell, and there's some people who don't, and, works for some, doesn't work for, whatever works for you.
Look at you hedging your bets, right? I'm trying to offend nobody.
I think we'll have 50-50 out there.
50-50, nah, dude, die with the lie.
And move on.
Move on. Don't do it again. And, I'm happy that you and your girl are doing better. Don't fuck it up. Just don't do it. All right, last question. Dear DJ Silk, I think that I'm ready for love, but I'm scared of putting myself out there. I don't want to get hurt again, but I truly want to give it a try. How can I get over this fear? Oh,
I would love to hear from a man's perspective because I don't know. I think women fall in love a lot quicker than men do.
Can be infatuated, yeah, I guess. So you don't have an answer?
Repeat the question again.
I think that I'm ready for love, but I'm still scared of putting myself out there. I don't want to get hurt again, but I truly want to give it a try. How can I get over this fear?
So man or woman, I think at the end of the day, if we learn to lose the expectation of not getting hurt, then will we truly learn to fall in love again or fall in love for the first time? Because once we have fallen in love and then you get your heart broken, it's kind of like, you're hard on yourself. You put that wall up and you're like, I'm not going to go through this again. And then you lied to yourself because you went through it again. in a different relationship with somebody else. Okay. And then 3-4 years later, that didn't work out. You didn't get married or whatever, and you go to another relationship and you try it again. And then you get to this point where you're like, you know what, forget it. Love is not for me. It's not going to work. I think back to that, what I was saying earlier today about perfection. I think at the end of the day, love is a beautiful thing. For example, like for me, just because I'm not in a relationship right now, I'm not successful at it right now, doesn't mean that I don't love to be in love or I don't love companionship. Right. I just know what kind of love I want to experience. I want to know, I know like what kind of healthy relationship I want to be in. So that takes time. You got to you have to learn people.
Right.
So to your point, there's infatuation, there's lust, and then there's really love. So can you fall in love with somebody without having that physicality first? Are you making sure it's not infatuation? All these parts to the bigger picture you have to really look at. Because love is a powerful thing. And I think it's a beautiful thing once you're involved with it. And I wouldn't say be scared of it. I mean, I'm a risk taker. So I'm that type of person that would go at the top of the cliff and I would jump because I just want to go swimming at the bottom and see what it's like to see that waterfall. Okay. And, even though, I made a big splash and that might have hurt, at least I can know that I've experienced it before. I've felt that connection. I really got to be in a journey with someone that was there for me at one point. Did it work out? No, but I cannot knock the part of having that experience. Gotcha. Some people, unfortunately, don't ever experience love.
Right. Well, okay. Good answer.
What's your take on it? Mr. Lover Man.
Yeah, right. Make sure the audience is engaged, all right. So the line that sticks out for me in this question is, I think that I'm ready for love. So for a lot of people, love and marriage, they look at it as something like, in the same vein as like, I think I'm ready for a pet. I think I'm ready for a new TV, or I think I'm ready for what. So it's like when you make that decision, you go out and you get whatever it is you want. And I think that's a horrible way of looking at love and marriage. Mm-hmm. I think the notion of love and marriage should happen when you meet someone that you could potentially fall in love with. It's just that simple. I've been in love before, and I know, those feelings came when I met that person and saw her for the first time, and it's like, ooh, just, and that's what everybody should be striving for. When you say I'm ready for love, or I'm ready for marriage, or I'm ready for a relationship, now you put yourself in this mindset of, now I'm going to be looking. And when you're looking for something, that means that you're going to analyze
impulsive decisions.
Yeah, you're gonna make impulsive decisions, but you're gonna be like, all right, well, like if you're going to look for a car and you're like, oh well, this car doesn't have this, but that car has that, and you shouldn't.
You're like, I see where you're kind of going, like organically letting it happen.
You gotta let it. If you just allow yourself to be open for love, then it can be an organic thing. If you make the decision that you're ready for love, or you're ready for marriage, or you're ready for a relationship, now you're going to go out and you're going to be looking and choosing among what's in front of you, which what's in front of you none of those choices may be the right thing. That's why so many people have bad and unhealthy relationships, because instead of allowing it to be organic and letting love find you, they're out there finding that. And it's like, all right, well, out of the 5 people here, you're the best, which, the law of averages, there's always going to be the best in the room. There's always going to be the worst in the room. But if you're in a room full of the worst, then now you're picking the best of the worst, and that's not good. That's not the way we should go about picking the person that we're going to share our air with.
Yes.
So,
share your air with. I like that. And to take your time with it. There's no limit.
There's no limit. No. So it's good that you're ready for love, but stop being ready for love. Like, love yourself, live your life. Don't be looking for Mr. Right. Just take care of you, and Mr. Right will come your way. That's it. I mean, that's.
And at the end of the day, I'm a big believer. Like, what's meant to be will be. It will happen. I just think because of, like I said, it's a microwave popping world. Like, we want things to happen right now. Yeah. And what patience has learned, like, for me, I've always been the type to be in a relationship. So, haven't been single since 2015 till now, end of 2015, technically January 2016 and now.
Oh, Lord. That was the date.
Because it was like a big moment for me. I was just like, oh my God, and I'm not only a single mother now with kids, but like I'm all like actually going to like go out into this world of like dating and oh my God, it's crazy. Like online dating and it's changed. The dating world has changed. But I'm like, who doesn't meet in person anymore?
I know, man. People, they just like meet in person. What? That's why this coronavirus social distancing is making a lot of people happy because they're like, now I have a valid reason for not staying, like, not being around Skype. You. Yeah, we'll Skype, we'll FaceTime.
FaceTime in a minute. But I think to my point, I was just trying to say is like during this process of these last 3 years, I've been able to really just focus on the things that I love. Like you said, love yourself. Like I've been able to travel to Dubai by myself. I've been able to take vacations when needed for myself. I'm able to, get on my bike when I want to. I don't have to answer anybody. Like I've really taken the time to just learn who I am, learn what I love to do. And then when you, like you said, you organically meet someone who fits with you and what you love to do or in just your aura and your environment, it'll work out. And then, it's like you said, it's also about loving the right person.
Right.
Because you work in life and you go through relationships and you learn like, I gave my love to the wrong one. So
right. We do, I think the collective we do trying to treat love and relationships as it's a mode that you just flip on. You flip the switch and now you're in love mode and relationship mode and it just works. And that's not how it was ever designed to work, and it'll never work that way. You'll never have the best relationship if you operate in that way. I think we should treat love and marriage the same way we treat how we allow friendships to happen. Mm-hmm. Like we're not friends with everybody we meet.
Right, that's so true.
You get to know somebody and you're like, all right, you're gonna be my we talk at the gym friend. And, you're my club friend. We go out and I meet for a drink or whatever. And, you're my friend that I confide in or whatever. Yes. That's the way we should deal with our love life and dating. Mm-hmm. So in terms of how do you get over the fear, the same way you get over every other fear, you face it head on. Like if you're afraid of water, the only way you get over the fear of water is getting into the water. In terms of being fearful of loving, just start meeting people and just put the idea of love, marriage, relationships, all that to the back of your head and just focus, be in the moment, just enjoy the moment of what's going on right now. Don't worry about getting married and we really get along, because I think a lot of people get lost in the fantasy of things, and fantasy is about the future. And while you're fantasizing about what could be, you're missing out on what's happening right now. And what's happening right now, that's where you get all the information as to whether the person is right for you, if they're wrong for you, if there's potential, if there's no potential. So if you want to get over the fear, just go out. Have your friends introduce you to their friends. And do things like go on vacation by yourself. Go to the movies by yourself. Start loving yourself. Start dating yourself. And you'll find that you'll be open to, when the right person comes along, you'll be willing to allow them to join you on these self-dates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true.
So, gotta love the self-dates, right?
Hey, I have fun with them.
Yeah, hey, man. Hey, you do what you want. So.
Or you can call, the right people in your lives. Like you said, you have certain friends for everything.
Yeah.
Hang out too.
No, but I mean, yeah, like literally, we are way more selective about who our friends are than we are with who we potentially will fall in love with. Mm-hmm. Like, we force the issue with love and relationships, but with our friendships, we're like, that process. You know, we don't allow. I hear people all the time. I don't need no new friends with Khaled. No new friends. Like that song, man. Come on. Oh, my gosh, people, good people. All right, those are the interview questions. I mean, the advice column questions. If you want advice from the End Podcast, just hit me up at the End Podcast or at DJ Silk on Instagram. There's a Facebook page for the End Podcast. Instagram page, The End Podcast. So just send them my way. I'll do the best I can with them. Yeah. So,
definitely. I like what I hear.
You like what you... No, it's cool, man. We got problems. People have problems out here. I
see. And it's definitely not just our nation. It's a global thing. So.
Oh, my gosh. It's the world at large. All right. Well, we are in the closing phases of this podcast. How has it been for you so far?
It's been amazing. I really, truly appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for reaching out to me. You know, you have a great setup, great vision here. I would definitely keep moving on. No, really, like, this is where it all starts. You know, this is how you build your dream. And, you know, it's definitely the environment you need to be in. And I think you're good at it. So I appreciate being a part of it.
Yes, thank you for coming. Like, I love it when you ask someone to do something. They're like, yeah, sure. And she's here. Right?
Yeah. I'm a one of my word.
Stephen A. Smith, Spike Lee, like
Terrence
all these.
Howard.
Oh my gosh. It's just
Megan Good. The list goes on.
She is royalty here on the End Podcast. So you've really taught me a lot in terms of just battling your demons and facing up to the challenges of life. I mean, it's like, it's horrible some of the things that you've been through, but then it's made you such a great person, which is just a beautiful thing. So that's awesome. No. You know, God doesn't make any mistakes, and He definitely did right by you. So, and I'm glad that you're not sitting on all of your greatness and your gifts. So,
definitely.
Yes.
I'm glad you're able to see that. That's what I'm here for.
There you go. So, how can people get a hold of you, or, you know, lurk in the background and watch your life digitally?
Well, I do have Facebook page, which is my first name, last name, Yesenia Tavaras, Yesenia, and then Tavaras is T as in Tara, A, V as in Victor, ERAS. I'm also on Instagram at Yesenia's _ world, so at Yesenia's _ world. And my email address, I'll pop out my email address. It's YeseniaTenterprise@gmail.com. YeseniaTenterprise@gmail.com. Hit me up with anything. If you just need a mentor, if you need some advice, if it could be on anything, literally media. I mentor a lot of different topics, and I'm working on my website, so that'll be coming out soon, and my books will drop. So follow me on social media and email me, and we'll start from there.
Oh, that's it. I think you covered it all. It's a wonderful thing. In terms of TV, so how can they see you on?
Oh, yes. So I do have, I believe, if you type in Yesenia Tavaras in YouTube, you'll get my shows. But WITN22.org, that's WITN22.org. On there at the very top, you'll see all of our social media links. And our handle on all of our social media, like Facebook, YouTube, and all that, is WITN22Wilm. And there you'll see all of my work, and you'll also be able to see my colleagues' works too. And if you're in Delaware, or if you log on to WITN22.org, every day at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m., that's 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m. daily, you'll be able to catch my talk show.
Eastern Standard Time, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. All right. So, hey, make sure you watchers of the End Podcast, if you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening, know that I'm also on YouTube. So it's the End Podcast YouTube channel. Please share, please like, please comment. All those actions matter. It really helps with the growth of the show. And I think that's all I have for you. So go off and be great. And
or as Tupac says, keep your head up.
There you go. Until the next time, guys, take it easy.